What is good, my people? Hey, I'm coming back with another live show to come holler at y'all. Come see what's going on. Um Talk to y'all before I get started on the next video. You know what I'm saying? I definitely want y'all to call in. The number is right there on the screen. It's 804-601-4015. And make sure, like always, y'all subscribe to the other channel. You know, that's where the new video will be put up in probably another day or two. And it's going to live premiere on the other channel. The Forecast Radio 24 is in the description. I can't post them on this channel because, they'll ban my channel or whatever. So, make sure y'all do that. What's going on, Roberto? Yeah. We definitely maybe we're starting to get to know this right now though. Well, I don't know, because that's the whole issue. Now we see that since this verdict or whatever. What's going on, Melanin always. I definitely want y'all to call in. The number is on the screens, so y'all can call in anytime. But after the verdict, now they've already killed about 3 or 4 people already. So they are already making it known what their intentions are. They're showing you, they're proving a point. But during the midst of all of this, we still got our own people, justifying the shooting of a little kid, talking about a hero for saving a life. Now, you can have whatever opinion you want on it, right? But we've seen countless situations in reverse, right? In fact, they got one person who actually killed people, right? And they got a gun GoFundMe for him. Now, this whole mentality comes down to that whole Stockholm syndrome, right? And I can't even call it Stockholm because none of us is from Sweden, right? You can call it African syndrome or wherever, right? Black syndrome, because we have definitely, well, far too many of us have identified with our captors, right? We don't even realize that we are prisoners of war as we speak. There's no getting around that. You're not technically a citizen. That's why these rules and laws don't exactly apply the same for you. That's why the treatment isn't exactly the same for you. And to save face, right, you get this second class citizenship, but it's not for your benefit, right? Political, it's for political reasons. But our people buy into the mindset that if you accept the ways of the Englishman, then you're granted a free pass. You're in this society. Now, when you look at them, they stay on code no matter what they think, right? They could probably think that, this person is a psychopathic killer, but they're going to stay on code. But, we have far too many people out here, you know, um, justifying, taking somebody's life as the first and only measure. But we just don't put two and two together that, you know, it's very rare that, because they call their 30-year-old white dudes children, right? They protect their children, and they'll pull out a taser, or they'll do everything possible. You can go through video after video, right? Just the other day, this white dude with a gun in his car, he told the cops, "You have no right to stop me. I'm gonna shut my door and pull off," and he did. And all the cops did was say, "Well, damn." Now, of course, the story with the brother that got shot, though, he got in his car, he pulled off. The first thing they do is let off shots. But we sitting here defending a whole system, that was designed to destroy us. And it's this thing of learned helplessness. It's almost like if you can't beat them, then you join them, right? But if you feel like you can't escape this system, if you feel like it's nothing you could do, if we're still saying stuff like they'll never do this, they'll never do that, of course they'll never do it. But why are we sitting here saying what they will never do? As if we aren't the ones that have the power in our own hands. Because with Stockton, I'm going to say Black syndrome, you feel like you could find a way to just appease your abuser. You can find a way to, just fit in, and maybe, just maybe, they won't hurt me, right? Maybe if I show like, hey, I agree with your laws. I agree with everything you say. I'm down for the team. Maybe then we'll be all right. But the problem is that often does not work, because just say you're getting pulled over, they don't see you as somebody who is down for the cause. You just like all of us, right? The thing about the white supremacy and the mindset of a psychopath, one is all. You represent everybody. And their whole main mission of all of it is world domination. What's going on, Slang Nocturnal? And yeah, y'all could call in if y'all got an opinion about, that young sister, Micaiah, the young sister that got shot. You have a lot of people out here, thinking the cop, saying he did a good job, but that's an unwillingness as victims of severe abuse, the most unimaginable abuse you couldn't imagine it. You don't feel like you can detach, and you'll never heal if you don't get away from your abuser. Their goal is about control. It's not about fairness. It's not about equality. It's about control. And if you control the world and its resources and people coming to you, why would you give that up? Although, not everybody has the same mindset. But what your enemy does is they capitalize off of your weaknesses, right? They take what you say or anything you do and they hold that against you. They use that to their advantage. And just to get you deeper into that slave mindset, they'll throw you a bone here and there. We'll give you a conviction, but right now they're coming out on camera saying, this is white boy summer. They're getting tired of people saying Black Lives Matter, because the irony is, right, we are the only ones out here talking about no justice, no peace. But we get the least amount of justice, but we're the most peaceful. And they're sitting here telling you it doesn't matter if he got convicted or not convicted. We're coming this summer. We loading up. Now, they, in the mind of a psychopath, they aren't playing. When they say something, they're going to do it. We're the only ones that sit there and say, we aren't going to do this or do that anymore. But then that trauma kicks in and that fear, and you do anything to appease your tormentor, your oppressor. But you aren't in a society where you can actually inflict justice. And that's just being with your own court system, sending these murderers to your own prisons, having money with people that look like you on it. We're satisfied with getting pieces of paper with dead people that would have killed us, while they take all of the natural resources and sell it back to us, just enough to keep us going to work and coming back and keep us enslaved in that position under their control. Because that's the most important thing, is control. That's why you got to go everywhere imposing your own government on other places, even though they probably got the most corrupt one. But with propaganda and spreading images, and you control the images that you spread, right then people who have no idea only believe what they see. And in places, that's why in places that they barely have any black people, they see you the same as white supremacy. Is a global institution because they want world domination. And I say this, like, as black people, we're worried about the new world order, but we're still under control of the last world order. Right? It's time for us to start developing self-autonomy. You'll never see anybody out there condoning a little white girl. Well, you may see it, but not to this degree. And you will see them take actions to do what they need to do. What's going on, real life? Because in the mind of a psychopath, and you can't tell me that this isn't proven throughout hundreds of years of history, but to a psychopath, you are nothing but a tool to be used, and you better work right. And the minute that you aren't useful anymore, they can just throw you away like it's nothing. But the big dilemma is how to keep the Negro tool useful, because this is one of the most powerful tools that we have, because we wouldn't have anything without it. Right? That's the great question that's been in every presidential debate America has ever had. The Negro question. What are we going to do with these Negroes? And we're sitting here agreeing with them like, yeah, well, we got to get this particular president out of office because he's so horrible. But we'll go ahead and get this other horrible president in there and we'll worry about that later. In the meantime, we haven't put 1 second of thought into our own political system. Like, not even party, but our own political system. Because nothing is forcing us to be involved in it. Nothing is stopping us from creating our own. Now, yeah, will they target you? Absolutely. Because you can see the difference in how they do things. Now, you see countless, how many white serial killers have we seen over the last few years? Killing their own politicians and everything. But when it comes to a black man, when that comes to that football player who killed, a family of white people, now we already know what happens with these other people, right? They're a lone wolf. They had mental issues. They were crazy, you know. we gotta feel sorry for him. He was just deranged. But this brother, because he probably had a Bible or something in his house, or he may have been, I'm not sure it's a religion. It could have been Muslim or Israelite, could have been any of those stuff. But because they found something like that in his house, now they're trying to investigate ties and to link them into some larger organization. And they do that to kill your leaders, kill anything that you may think is for you. Like, I think it was the NAFTA leader, they arrested him. Now you have all of these people storming the White House, the Capitol, and you have to do all of this. People had to protest and all of this stuff just to get a few of them locked up. But you talk about black empowerment, black anything positive, somehow now you're a racist, you're a terrorist, you're this, you're that. Right? And we talk about supporting our own for the basis of survival. They talk about what they do off of greed, to build, to take, to steal, because they stole everything they got. The land, they stole it, stole us, everything all the wealth they got, they stole all of that. The richest families are the families who did the most dirt probably and got away with it. Because that's just the mindset. Yeah, is definitely propaganda. But they keep you feeling like you need them when all the time it's them coming for you. But they push this propaganda because it's a certain image that they have to maintain, and you have to believe that image too. But we see with everybody who they use against you, because they have to control your political movements, they have to control your leaders, and they have to give you the leaders, because if you start listening to your own message, now you're starting to get out of control. It's something that's they're not in charge of. And the whole time, they're instituting all kind of laws, everything. Right. That's what your abuser wants you to do. Be dependent.
Bakari.
Yo, what's going on, brother Bakari?
Peace, my good brother Forecast. How are you, my man?
I'm good, man. How you doing, bro?
I'm hanging out. Everything is everything.
Yeah, man.
You know what? I have to call in when you go live, man. I saw you had. I just noticed you was live, and I see the name of your show is Battered Syndrome.
Yeah.
So let me ask you: are you talking about some things that black people suffer from here? The reason we continue to do the things we do?
Well, kind of, yeah. But what I'm really kind of basing it off is, when this that young sister got shot, and everybody is making excuses and celebrating the cop, saying the cop was great. You know what I'm saying?
If you know what I say about that, in my opinion, may be very unpopular, right? That cop was absolutely wrong for killing that young girl. Don't get it twisted. But what they said was that was her dad who kicked that little girl in the head, because those were little girls fighting. She was a little girl that was killed, but those were little teenage girls that was fighting her, right?
Right.
If you go back and watch that video, her dad kicked the little girl in the head, right? So what I said is he created the environment she was around. It created a bad environment for her. And as men, we have to do better, because I'm going to tell you, man, he tried to kick that little girl in the head twice. I can't remember if he kicked her or not. But then that white police pull up and shoot your daughter 4 times, and the only thing you say is, "That's my baby." But think about that mentality of the black man. You was fighting a 15-year-old girl for your daughter, helping her, instead of taking the knife away, making her go in the house, right?
Yeah.
And running those other little kids from your yard. The cop was absolutely wrong. Never let that cop off the hook, because there's a lot of things that he could have done instead of her, right? I've heard people, I saw people on Facebook. One guy, I called him a hero. I don't know, call that cop a hero. I don't know, ever say anything to me.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah.
But, yeah. But look how that black man allowed that man to kill his daughter, and he didn't do anything.
Right.
He didn't do nothing. But he was fighting the little girls.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see battered syndrome, it's almost as if, because that's something I want to do a show about with syndrome. It's as if we suffer from battered woman syndrome. We can't stop dealing with them, no care how bad they beat us. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Stockholm syndrome. Yeah. And it's the more out there, and right now, off the top of my head, I can't even think of them. But that cop is not a hero. That cop should not have his job. He shot that young lady. He needs to be in prison, or dead, preferably. But he shot that little girl. He shot that young lady. She was a 16-year-old young lady. Put his gun out, shoot her 6 times. I'm sorry, 4 times. She was 16. He shot her 4 times. I never heard him say, "Put the knife down." When I listened to the video, I heard him say, "Get down." I never heard him say anything about a knife. He said, get down, and just went to firing. But one of the guys who I heard call that cop a hero for killing that black girl, he said the hero in George Floyd case, the reason the man got convicted was the people who was recording the incident. So she's a hero for recording watching a black person get killed. Yeah. The cop is a hero for killing a little black girl. The fight in most of our black men, the fight has been beat out of them. A lot of I ain't gonna say most because I don't know most. I just say a whole lot because I do know a lot. I can say most for my area though, where I live. The revolutionary spirit has been beaten out of our people when you can look and condone and think of a way to condone the killing of that 16-year-old young lady. That lets you know where we are as a people. And that's part of that battered syndrome, battered woman syndrome. You beat so much, if they're not beating you and killing you, if they're not destroying you physically and mentally, you don't think they'll love you. So since we are looking for white validation, white acceptance, white love, if they're not doing the things to us that they normally do, they're not loving us. They're not our hero. And we're still waiting. And I was just listening to a lady channel, and I listen to her sometimes. I go on a platform and talk sometimes. And she said something I didn't agree with this. Because they're still waiting on our white friends should be on the front line for us. You remember the conversation? You remember the video I did the other night, Uncomfortable Conversation? Mm-hmm. How many of them have actually held that conversation with their white friends that you think they're going to get on the front line for you? Think about our mentality. If we pushing, white people should be on the front line for us because they're doing this to us. So since they're doing it to you, why would they be on the front line to stop it? Because as long as they keep you disenfranchised, they can continue to build themselves up. Because they continue to keep you begging for acceptance. It's all a trick.
Yeah, but Bakari, don't you know 2 white boys died in like 1962 because they was down protesting or something like that?
Talking about in Mississippi?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were those 2 white Jews. Now, Yeah, they did a movie about that Mississippi burning, right? Yeah. It was two white Jews and a black guy, right? Yeah. And what they don't ever tell you the truth about places like Mississippi, I'm from there, so things I know that they won't tell you. If you was to go there to those little country towns, you would see most churches is on someone's personal property. The reason they didn't get touched because they were out during the daytime, and at night they were at the church. And once black people learned the law and the rules, the reason church is on personal property because black people started killing white people who was coming trying to tear up their stuff. And they told those people, don't leave, right? Don't leave the property at night. You will have problems. And the two Jews and the black guy, they decided to leave. And not saying it was right because they left what they did, but yeah, I do know it was two white Jews that got killed. My thing is, like I always say, man, they're collateral damage in a war for their people, for white people. Because we think just because someone might say, give them the right to vote, that means they feel you should have everything that they have. You understand? Yeah. No. They want you to vote because they want you to vote for them. But they don't get on the front line for us. They never have and never will, and I'm not waiting on it. Black men need to be on the front line, and we need to be training, and we need to be prepared, and we need to have a way to communicate. If they could communicate in the 60s, in the 50s, when Dr. King first started marching, that's why I always say read the book, we will shoot back. And you will learn when Dr. King first started marching from Virginia to Mississippi, all those states from Virginia to Mississippi, Mississippi to Virginia, whichever order you want to do it, look and see why when Dr. King marched, when he first started, why people wasn't out there hitting on him and why the police wasn't messing with him. Because black people had militias and they had taken a couple of cops out and a couple of white people out for trying it. Yeah. And if you read the book, We Will Shoot Back, you can read the book, This Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed. We can read those books and you can see we have made them back down. The problem is we want them to stand up for us in 2021. Brother, I just want to call in and tell you I always support your channel. I'm going to continue to support your channel, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, my brother. One love. Black solidarity.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother Bakar. Yeah, definitely. And that's real talk, because that's what they'll do. They'll hold up real quick. But yeah, it's definitely got to be black solidarity. But yeah, they bring up certain incidents, and that's the thing to to throw you off. You know what I'm saying? It's all gaslighting to give you that hero. Now, when the people did start fighting back, like we starting to see this happen again, right? And like Brother Bukhari was saying, they was shooting back, because you got to understand, we haven't always had this illusion of inclusion, and our neighborhoods and our communities haven't always been this way, right? The whole crack epidemic in the 80s was a major blow to the black community, if not the last strike that especially that we're still recovering from to this day. But back then, there was no illusion of inclusion. People was much more stand up than what happened after the illusion of inclusion, when you started to believe that your enemy had your back. And when they got more militant, they can only bring up certain instances, and they would bring up those two Jewish people, right? Now, this will be 30, 40 years ago in the past, but that shows you how little is they use one figure to try to project the whole thing, and they take one figure from you, and that'll be the negative figure. But they use that to control who you listen to, the messages that you get. But now that the internet has changed the game, now that we can spread knowledge with each other, it's a different ball game. And even then, they're still going to target you. But to call this cop a hero, and this is what I meant. You could have whatever opinion that you want, but I know when it comes to their own, they know how to pull out the taser. When they have assault rifles killing people, I know they know how to somehow subdue the person. I know people who have actually gone on killing sprees, they know how to somehow subdue the people. But the whole point is to destroy neighborhoods, the whole environment. That's the point that we should be mad at, right? The fact that, first of all, if she didn't, the young sister, she called the police. We need to have our own institutions, especially for these mental health calls, because you cannot call your enemy. We see bad things happen to the point where you never know. Is a 50-50 chance if you call 911 that something bad could happen to you, then something is not right with that. But then the broken down whole environment where her father was out there fighting little kids, that's the thing that we should be understanding, that we should be mad at that whole situation, right? Not that ending of it. The fact that this whole system is not by accident, right? It's not by coincidence. You have to understand that your enemy will give you certain things just to lower your guard, lower your defenses, to make you quote unquote trusting. And I don't see how we can still be trusting after this whole time, right? They'll throw you a bone, like we'll prosecute one cop every now and then, but then we'll kill 3 or 4 more black people in that week, because psychopaths have no remorse. They are emotionalists. They could care less. If you look at that video of that dude sitting on his neck, he didn't care that he was suffocating him. He didn't have any look of concern. He wasn't panicking. He didn't have any emotions. And they sit there and they handcuff you. Now, either they get hyper scared, or they're hyper ventilating and they pull their gun and shoot in 2 seconds, or they don't have any emotions at all. Either way, it's the same indoctrination. Now, you can say some cops are good, some cops are this, some cops are that, but every single cop upholds the system of white supremacy. That's what they're for, right? I'm sure all of you know the history of the police, where the police comes from. But you can see the contradictions, because in a psychopath's mind is do as I say, not as I do. Now, we are the only group of people now. You don't see them, even if they agree or they don't agree, you don't see them throwing their own under the bus, saying, oh, this person was a hero for taking out that person. You won't ever see them saying that. If a black person came out and killed a white person to save another person, if anything, they won't say anything. But we don't have a code. We never actually been on code, because to the whole grand scheme of history, race is relatively new. We've never actually been on code. Now, we've had times where we understood we've been on code, but to understand the concept that they use race as, they use it to control the poor white people and to keep us in a submissive position, to keep us from being in the position that we are supposed to be in. What psychopaths do, they don't understand or have emotions. They just imitate yours. Why do you think they imitate every single thing you do? They demonize you for it, and then they turn around and make money off of it, right? Because they have to make you to be bad, and then they come and make a profit off of it. Yeah, I've seen that cop, but even then, you know, it still wasn't so much back the blue as I seen. I just didn't see too many people speaking out against it, right? Because silence is also another option. They know how not to throw their own under the bus. That's why you see when they be wilding out in the stores, they stay on code. They'll come and get you before, once you start defending yourself, they'll come and hold you back. They'll tell you that's enough. They've learned their lesson. They'll tell you all of this stuff, but they could be going off on you for 20, 30 minutes. Right? You have to understand that the tactics of a psychopath. They use strategic avoidance. Right? They know what they're doing. They know what you want. Because when it happens to them, they all of a sudden know right from wrong. But when it comes to you, you don't really know. Right? They don't understand. All of a sudden, all of the laws, everything gets complicated because they're stringing you along. But we got to understand what perpetual servitude means. But, and by the way, y'all can call in if y'all want to call in. I ain't gonna be on here too long. I know it's already late where I'm at, so. But the whole point is, as a people, we really have to learn self-love, because in the situations that we're in, we got to understand these whole environments are destructive to who we are mentally, right? We have to destroy our complete identity to fit in. Our hair is illegal. The way we talk is illegal. The way we walk is illegal. We can't get a job because of this. We can't go into this place because of that. You have to turn yourself inside out to fit into something that's not natural to you. You don't have the same way of thinking. You don't have the same way of feeling. You don't have the same way of being, but you're trying to fit into a society with laws, and they had laws on the books that made it, and still on the books, that makes it illegal to kill you. And now all of a sudden, if you say stop killing us, it makes you a problem. It makes you a threat. If you start to have self-love, if you start to walk past each other and just speak, you don't even have to say I love you. Just say, what's going on, my brother? What's going on, my sister? You build you build a bond little by little. You start to see for yourself, have that own experience, and not take the images that they've put inside of your head about each other. Because when you love yourself, you'll be mad enough not to let these environments exist in the first place. Right? Just the food that we eat and all of that kind of stuff is the stuff that we really should be mad about. Yeah, what's going on, Elemental Media? You can call in. And y'all call in as always. I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all got an opinion on the cop shooting the sister. Some of y'all, think the cop was okay and the cop was a hero and all of that stuff. But the whole issue is to destroy your self-esteem, to make you feel worthless, to make you depend on them, to starve you economically so that you need them. to make you think that you're not worthy, to make you think that you're not enough. And once they got that poverty mindset, what's going on, Indigenous one? Once they get that mindset instilled in you, yeah, you do have situations where two black people is fighting each other over a piece of steak that some white dude just threw down there and can come up and pick it up and neither one of you have it. It entertains them. Right. All I'm saying is in certain situations it rarely happens in reverse for a reason, but that shows you that they absolutely know what they're doing. Because they love to say, well, they kill white people too. But this is where you have to be careful with the argument, because they'll be like, well, they killed more white people. Well, yeah, well, white people committed more crime. It's about 200 million more, or whatever the number is. But if you go by percentages, and that's what your enemy loves to do, they try to make you confused, right? They'll go from one subject to the other because they have no problem with it, but they understand it. Some of them don't. Some of them are just regurgitating what they hear. But the whole point is, far too many of us are suffering from Stockholm syndrome, some more severe than others. But I don't even call it Stockholm syndrome because none of us are in here are from Sweden. We have black syndrome. And for hundreds of years, we've been told that black is bad, black is pitiful, black is savage. When really, somebody who is committing savage acts towards you and then calling you savage, but once you're in the midst of being abused, you don't see that. You know, he said whites don't get special treatment. Well, I cannot tell you one black person that has gotten taken to Burger King for even a marijuana possession. I can tell you that. Now, some people will, just appease their oppressor, and to them, just being able to survive is a reward, right? You being able to pay them rent is your reward, right? Pay them tax money on top of what they got. Why is it that we're still paying our enemies tax money and we're okay with that? We're not even talking about that. It's all good. I let them in the track because you gotta study your enemy. Look at what they say. It's the same talking points over and over. Right? You gotta I'm not even right. They took him to Burger King after he killed 9 people. Right now, who would do that other than a psychopath? Now, you don't see them condemning that. Some of them may even feel it's wrong. Most of them don't care because psychopaths don't have feelings. It's all about winning. It's not about right. It's not about wrong. It's not about fair. It's not about justice. It's about control. It's about you serving me. And we should be tired of being in a society that does not fit us, does not fit who we are. That alone. But if they could make you feel like it's something that you need, that only they have, only they could give you, and they can convince you that they can control your desires. Right now you're desiring something that's not yours. You're trying to fit in into a society that's not yours, but that is all out of fear. It's all about not feeling like you can overcome this system. But at the end of the day, all it takes is for you to wake up and to realize who you are. Is to start going over it. And you can see we're starting to get back to that a lot more. Because, see, every so often they destroy our history, they destroy our generations. That's another part of why they burn down our cities and all of that. They destroy the knowledge as well, the written down knowledge. Because again, they have to control the narrative. They have to control what you see, what you hear, what you feel, what you think, because that's the only way that they can maintain control over you. And see, that's what I'm saying. Like he said, or yeah, he said psychopaths on all sides. Now, this is the thing that they're all going to do. Try to gaslight this way any person does. Now, they're going to say all people on all sides, but only one side has the power to control who gets justice or not. Right? Like that little girl who got hit by a car, right? They can press charges if they want to, but all of a sudden it's so confusing. But when it happened to a little white boy, no problem getting charges, right? And they call like that's why they like to call us racist. But the point is they hated us so much that they didn't even want to accept our money. And we're sitting here begging people who still don't want to accept our money to accept us in 2021. Well, if somebody is racist and want to kick me out of their restaurant, I'm glad before I spend another dollar in there and let everybody else know. But we're trying to fight to be in that system, but they're calling you racist for saying, don't kill this person, don't shoot first and ask questions later. You're the racist one because that has to be a part of the projection. That's just what psychopaths do. It's a way to, especially if you entertain it, but they don't feel guilt, they don't feel shame. And see, that's the a whole difference right there. Of course they're going to try to put you on the same thing, but they don't even apply the laws the same towards you, right? Another kid can travel across state lines with an assault rifle and kill people and he ain't shot, right? He can walk past the cops. But it's always the, oh, there's bad on both sides, we're both wrong. No, we don't have a system oppressing anybody. I've never told somebody that you can't come here, you can't go there. But you know what, maybe we should start having the mindset of these people who come in to take money out of our community, especially if they aren't doing nothing to uplift it or help or give back or anything. Maybe we should start going in there and saying you got 24 hours to get out of here. because everybody else do it. Try to open up a shop in their neighborhood and see what happens. But only you can't do that. Then all of a sudden, well, now it's wrong. Now this is that. Now it's racist. And it's saying racist. Yeah, and that's the thing. And I would say that black people aren't even prejudiced. Do you know why? Because it's been 400 years of straight oppression, and we still have to convince ourselves that we're still happy if one cop gets convicted of manslaughter, not even murder, when he sat on the man's neck. Right? To prejudice is to prejudge. We're not prejudging anybody. If anything, right, we won't get it. That's the issue. We won't judge after the fact. We still think that there's some kind of hope, but they will string you along and do whatever to keep you in that subservient position. And they know, hey, well, I came in here and slaughtered, this man's daughter, or I came in here and shot his wife, and I'm walking free. That's what they understand. But they also understand, oh yeah, I tried to come in and violate this person, but you know, a bunch of people showed up that was armed and made sure I didn't do it. Right? They understand that. But they have to make it seem like you are the racist one to make themselves seem less guilty. I guess it's their way of sleeping at night. But anybody could call in. Y'all definitely call in. The number is 804-601-4015. But as a people, we have to remember and understand we are the only group of people that has ever pulled ourselves up by our own bootstraps in America. We built those communities simply by understanding that there was no illusion of inclusion. Now, the next step, once you build those communities, is to learn how to protect it. Because now we understand what we are dealing with, right? But you may be called prejudice, so you don't want to prepare yourself just in case. But to a psychopath, they are calculated and they think in advance. They are thinking 10 steps in advance. They are studying you. They are seeing your moves. But you can't be prejudiced. But should the people in Rosewood have been prejudiced because Red Summer was just right before that? Should they have been prejudiced and said, well, maybe we should protect ourselves in case they try to do that with us? But no, you want to be a part of the system. You want to fit in and be accepted as an Englishman. Well, in America, I'll say this: in the early 1600s, like 1630, there was probably like a 5-year period where you can accept the ways of the Englishman and be free. But ever since 1660s, it's a wrap. Now, all of these years later, we still haven't learned our lesson. But the longer you stay in that situation, then the worse it gets. And the more you identify with the person who is telling you who you are. But that person telling you who you are is projecting their mindset into you and taking your virtues and acting like that's who they are. They have to live through you because they don't have any emotions. That or a psychopath doesn't have any emotions. But to appear to be normal, they have to take your energy, your life force, your sweat, your blood, your tears to make themselves feel normal. And to make you feel low, they and that's the only way they can get it is to make you feel low. That's the only way they can keep you as a slave. So they have to put that negative energy into you and say, oh, well, you're a savage. You're this, you're that, you're the killer, you're this. You're the racist one. Until you prove them wrong, and then everybody's the racist one. We're all racist. And we're sitting here co-signing it. That's a part of, now I don't call it Stockholm syndrome no more. That's a part of the black syndrome. Because we're sitting here like, well, yeah, everybody's racist. Everybody could be this. Well, no, because no black person in here or no black person is making no law that says a white person cannot live in Beverly Hills somewhere. Right? They won't call in because they understand. And the thing is, when I say everything that I say and all the videos that I ever made and everything that I ever said, I hope that I'm wrong because it's so sick. I hope that I can be proven wrong and none of this existed. But that's the main part that black people have to deal with is the cognitive dissonance of it all. Because even now, it's even worse because they give you little trinkets, they give you little symbols, and we'll eat the symbols up, but they will make sure never to give you any tangibles. And the symbols is to keep you in the rat race without fighting. Because that's the whole game plan, right? It's nothing but a game to them. They're trying to think and stay 20 steps ahead. But they understand how smart you are, how skilled you are, how talented you are. That's why they had to make sure, well, two or three people, two or three black people together congregating is a crime. And still today, they call two or three black people together a gang. Meanwhile, they have the biggest gang in the world. Now, you tell me a psychopath isn't a hypocrite, doesn't speak doesn't have a forked tongue, doesn't say whatever they need to say in the time and place that they need to say it. And then after all the things they do, somehow have this moral judgment where they can pass on people and call other places corrupt and say other places is this, other places need to be saved. That is classic psychopath behavior. That is delusional because in their minds, they think they're right. It's not about right and wrong, but in their minds, they think they're right. Right there. That's the whole point. You have to understand. That's why I let them stay in the chat. It shows you how much of a fan they are. You think they're not listening? And why do you think YouTube messes with my channel? There's no telling how many people are actually listening right now. Because every time I get off is way more than they ever said on here. There's a reason for that. But I look at it as an honor. But, you know, they are obsessed with you, and you got to realize that, right? While they're telling you you are low down, you are savage, you deserved it, your life don't matter, why are they so obsessed with you then? Why do they keep coming back to you then? Why do they always speaking? Why are they always speaking your name? Why do they go out of the way to troll to say your life don't matter? And then when you retaliate, then they say, "Oh, look at this. You're a thug." Because I can guarantee you, if the police rolled up and shot a unarmed innocent black man, they find an excuse and all kind of justification for it, right? Talking about how the victim is this and that. But I can guarantee you, if somebody reacted, all of a sudden you're a thug. And now this justifies even more violence towards you. It's all a game to get you to react. Yeah, y'all can definitely call in. The number right there on the screen, 804-601-4015. And see, this person said, anti-white. See, they think we have the mindset of them. We're not obsessed with them. I want everybody to understand what I'm telling you is self-love. Love yourself. Love yourself enough to want to survive. Love yourself not to want to be captive. Love yourself enough not to want to serve somebody else, to have to serve somebody else's laws, to have to spend money that's not doesn't have your face on it, somebody that looks like you. They are obsessed with you. So anytime you talk about pro blackness, loving yourself, to them, they hear anti me because they can only, white supremacy is defined by black inferiority. So you bringing yourself up automatically pushes them down. This is how it works in the mind of a psychopath. You being up means they're being down. So for them to stay up, what does that mean? You have to stay down. And they're always going to do things like take individual instances and try to compare that to a whole systematic process. Because if they were really that mad, you see how they respond when they get mad. But you need to see how your enemy responds. And you need to stop reacting. But if anybody want to call in, y'all can call in. I'll give it a few more minutes. Number right there, 804-601-4015. Right? They have to appropriate every single culture. Because if you go back, name one thing that was theirs, or the place, if they were the original native people there. No, they just slaughter all the native people and say we were here first. But the problem is, we just have to start with the basics. First, we have to start loving ourselves. It starts with yourself first, right? Then you do something nice for your neighbor, right? It doesn't even have to be in a bad time. It could be in a good time. When you see your brother or sister, just speak. Start to build that bond we have with each other. Start to build that code. And it'll make it easier when you see somebody violating for you to step up. Because, that's what we have to start doing. And if we don't, then you see. Because when they send messages, they mean it. When they say we're coming, you see they're coming. When we say no justice, no peace, right? We get the least amount of justice, but we're the most peaceful. We're condoning each other for speaking out too much. You'll say, "Oh no, don't get too radical. You'll turn off some allies." Well, how are they an ally if they get turned off so easily? By saying, "I love blackness. I don't want somebody just to destroy me. I don't want to be subject to somebody else's system." Because if you feel like if this system justifies Trayvon Martin's death, right? Sean Bell, countless names. Eric Gardner, if it justifies all of their deaths, then why are we so eager to be a part of that? That's unhealthy mentally ourselves. We start to take on characteristics of your oppressor, and you start to feel like they do. You start to see life through the eyes of white supremacy. But that's why we have to start getting back to the basics. Start with the family, our school, all of that. Because until we start building strong families, where even if you send your child to one of their schools, they know the truth of their history. You can't send your kid where some white lady gonna teach him that Christopher Columbus discovered America, because he gonna know that Christopher Columbus, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry, whoever, all of them dead psychopaths, he gonna know that they were thugs and criminals, and he gonna be happy knowing that they're probably turning over in their grave, knowing that this system is coming to an end right now, right? Seeing it fall right before our eyes, and they will do anything to keep it going. But as long as we're in here saying, well, we got to get Joe Biden in office to get, because the lesser of two evils, when he telling you to sit in the house because somebody getting killed isn't enough for you to do anything about it. As long as they know you're condoning and reprimanding other black people for not voting for somebody who said Obama was the first good Negro that he's seen, right? And I agree with him on Joe Biden. I agree with him on the segregation, but it's because he didn't want his kids going to school with, his drug addict son going to a school or jungle or whatever he said. Right? I say you shouldn't want your kids going to their school because you don't want them learning that their history is bad. Their history starts with slavery. That, or the only black people in history is Martin Luther King. Right? Nothing about Marcus Garvey. Nothing about Malcolm X. Not even Fannie Lou Hamer. There's a difference, but as long as you're condoning and reprimanding other black people for not stepping up for another different type of white supremacist, then they know they got you in their grasp. They know that you're still playing the game, a willing participant. But you gotta find whatever insecurity or whatever it may be stopping you or all of us from understanding and seeing and being ready to end this whole thing, because it'll stop when we want it to. That's just the thing we didn't realize, because they'll give you this false image. They'll try to make an example to scare everybody else. They'll use divide and conquer. That's a part of the strategy. But when we wake up and realize, who we are, then there's nothing they can do to stop it. Yeah, when they murdered Michael Stewart, yeah. And that's the thing. You can go from decade to decade, century to century. I went through history year by year, and the same events keep happening over and over. But if you don't know that, then we're going to keep repeating the same cycles, sort of like a battered spouse trying to leave a toxic relationship. Every time you try to leave, you feel like you got to go back. Right, and he's right. Back then they were not playing. Now they say they were innocent white people driving down the street, but you know what? When they were kidnapping black people, they didn't say, "Oh, this one's innocent, this one's guilty." When they were imposing laws saying black people can't go here, they're not saying this one's smart, this one's not. When they're saying you can't read, they're not saying, "Oh, this one has good moral character, this one doesn't." When they're passing laws to keep you from doing things, they're not considering any of that. And in the 60s, believe me, because when Martin Luther King got assassinated, the response was violent. Now, he preached nonviolence up until the end, right? Martin Luther King started talking about that money. But the year before Martin Luther King got killed, those was the actual race riots. Before then, the race riots, they were just massacres. But black people got fed up of all the nonviolence because they said turn the other cheek, and they smacked them on the other cheek. And when a black person got killed, especially by the police, because it's the same situation as now, it's no different. They weren't having it, right? They shut the city down. It was no justice, no peace for real. And yeah, when white people came through their hood, especially when they're taunting them, you know how they do now when they drive through protest rallies and hit people, right? When they was doing that, they weren't able to do that because black people was armed and ready. They had just came back from the war. They understood and they were terrified. That's what got all of these laws passed, not them marching and holding hands on the bridge. That's what you have to understand. And once those laws passed and went right back to what it was, because symbols is enough to satisfy us, is enough to keep us going until the next time we start acting up. Then they may have to charge one cop. Meanwhile, 150 more people gets murdered and they give you one cop. But there were times before the illusion of inclusion when they understood where the enemy was. And when they tried to come in their neighborhood violating, they were dealt with. They knew not to come in the black neighborhoods, like the brother Bakari was saying. And when they did try it, they would get all the, especially the war veterans, the men of the neighborhoods, would all get together, post up on rooftops, maybe shoot the street lights out. And when they came into their neighborhoods, they would shoot them up until they got out of there. But one thing that they never did was pass laws justifying enslaving children, to make it illegal for you to have self autonomy. And you should know how powerful that is, how powerful you have to be for somebody to pass a law to take away your self autonomy, because they need that power for themselves. They want to harness your energy. You got to understand how valuable your energy is and value it and love each other. But I definitely appreciate all of y'all for coming through or whatever, man, and listening. It's much love, it's much respect. Now, no matter how you feel about that situation with that young sister, the whole point, you have to put yourself in a position where you build your own institutions. But most importantly, we have to start. What's going on, DP? But most importantly, we have to start building communities, environments, right? Getting back to the basics, right? Having strong family units to prevent most of this stuff from happening. Yeah, all of them organizations are European organizations. And that's the thing we got to understand. Any organization that has been about black empowerment was attacked and destroyed with the swiftness. Any organization still around, you have to have questions about it, right? They can't necessarily say the NAACP no more, so they got to say BLM or organization. So now when we say Black Lives Matter, it's a white organization. What kind of sick mindset is that? And now they can equate that to you and say, oh no, I'm talking about this organization, not you. But we have to start building our own institutions, our own organizations, and stop hoping that our enemy do it for us. As long as we're saying, why haven't they passed laws to protect us? We're still in a position to be dominated, and your enemy knows you're still at their mercy. And why would they ever pass laws to protect you? And as long as you're asking for that, then you still suffer from black syndrome, right? You are the power. But yeah, I appreciate all of y'all, man. Much love, much respect. Make sure y'all subscribe to the backup channel, the Forecast Radio 24. The new video should be up. I'm gonna try to have it up in a day or two. So make sure y'all subscribe. I can't put it on this channel, so subscribe to that channel, and I'm gonna be back with a live before then. So I appreciate y'all. And as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're gonna keep falling for anything.